Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of having Cathi, Director of Digital Transformation for Tech Data. How are we doing, Cathi?
Hello, Mark. Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to see you. Obviously, we've known each other a long time, and obviously what I was keen to get your thoughts on is the Women in Tech series that I'm doing at the moment. Now, I know the Women's Festival is coming up this month. I think it's in 3 weeks' time, and I think it's great, really great that we're celebrating and promoting successful women in our industry. However, does this message get out to prospect candidates coming into the industry? And if not, why not? And if not, how do we actually get that message out there? Because for me, if you're not in the industry, you have no idea that this Women's Festival is going on.
Great question. I think you're right, Mark, right? The industry has had a really stronger focus on celebrating and promoting the women in the industry. I was really proud to win CRM's Women in the Channel in 2018. But in my opinion, these messages mainly reach people already in the industry. So to influence prospective candidates, we have to go a lot further.
Yes.
You know, many large companies like Tech Data have invested in specific measurable actions around women in technology. And in terms of the industry, you know, there's great support and guidance from CompTIA, for example. They've got great resources on diversity and inclusion. But my personal opinion is that this is a challenge for all of us. It's the yous and the me's and everybody in the channel. And I kind of look at this in the way of, is your workplace one that you would be proud to see your daughter or your niece or your sister in? Is it an environment you think they could culture and prosper and flourish in? And if the answer is no, then that's where our opportunity lies. But hopefully the answer is yes, and then we can focus on actually how you promote it.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting subject you touched on there. So around, it's widely debated about STEM subjects and getting students to study computer science and other tech-focused degrees and all that sort of stuff, which is great. I've got a daughter, who wants to study, computer science, and she's doing engineering. Fantastic. But do you think there can anything be done from the employers to get people that are interested or not interested in tech to come into our industry? I.e., there's going to be lots of females that have done other degrees, history or whatever it is. They've come out of university or they've come out of A-levels, not sure what they want to do, because not everyone knows what they do want to do by 18 or 19, but maybe are doing part-time jobs that could come into our industry, but they're almost put off by, you've got to have a computer science degree, or you've got to be interested in coding and all this sort of stuff to come into our industry. So what can be done about getting people that aren't currently interested in tech to come into the industry?
The coding thing I'd like to come back to, Mark, because I think it is important, but I agree, right? Our industry is really diverse. It's sales, it's marketing, it's developing people, it's law, it's business, it's finance, perhaps if we're promoting these broader job functions rather than the heavy technology focus. We've got some really fantastic early recruit programs like apprenticeships and academies and intern placements. And in those events, we promote the organization, the company culture, the opportunity to make a difference, the career progression, much more than the technical aspects of IT. Actually, we work at Tech Data really hard to ensure a very balanced intake of women and men into these starter roles, because at that point, people maybe aren't ready to specialize, but when they get into the organization, they start to adapt, become interested, become specialized, become accredited and more technical. So I think coding has a place, but I think recruiting on potential and attitude and getting the very best young men and women we can early into the industry and then developing them is so important.
And what do you think, and you've hit a real hot spot really there, what do you think can be done to sort of educate people that there are more roles available, i.e. you don't have to be techie to come into IT or interested in coding, because customer services, help desk, operations, project management, whatever it is. There's loads of other roles. So what do you think can be done to educate not just women, to be fair, the actual market? There is other roles and opportunities available.
Yeah, as I say, things like internships, I think is a great opportunity. We have internship roles in marketing, commercial operations, category management. Thinking about your recruitment presence, are you showing diversity of your business? Are you talking about the disciplines, what you do as a company, what your culture is, why it's a great place to work, over and above the technical aspects?
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of tech companies in the great place to work. Really encourage your workforce to post on social. All of our internships, for example, use Rate My Placement. We support the apprentices, make sure that they're also posting and social, and it's kind of like celebrating the industry, I think, across the range of roles, rather than focusing just on the tech.
Yeah.
And in terms of coming back to women in tech, those job roles that put women in your hiring pipeline, I've seen some reports that the psychology is a bit different. Talking about the confidence gap. Is that something you're familiar with?
No, I'm not.
So I think, generally a woman and a man would look at a job role differently. And a woman would think about, can I do every part of this job? Can I tick all these boxes? Am I good enough? Whereas maybe, a male might look at that job role and think, I can do most of that. I'm going to put myself forward.
Yeah. Men know they can't do most of it. They just put themselves forward anyway. they look at the job set and think, I can't do it, but let's just apply. Let's have a go.
Do you see that, Mark?
Honestly, a lot. I see that a lot. Yeah, I see that a lot. And to be honest with you, I never actually thought of it from, because the applications that we do get from females, there just aren't as many for a start. There just aren't as many. But I never thought of it like that. We get a lot of applications from men applying for jobs that they just cannot do. But you're actually right. Now I'm thinking about it. Do I get a lot of women applying for jobs they can't do? No, they actually do apply for the jobs they can do. So yeah, maybe that is an issue. Do you think, Cathi, the women in tech message, what do you think it's actually trying to achieve? And what I mean by that is, is it equal opportunity or is it equal outcome? Because perhaps there's a sort of argument that women have got the same opportunity to join the IT industry, but they just don't want to. They just don't want to go into IT. Do you think potentially we're almost discriminating against men to drive women into the channel?
I think it's maybe perceived, right, or it has historically been perceived as an environment that women don't work in or can't be successful in. And it's changing a tiny bit, Mark, right? Let's be honest. A tiny bit. But it's only 4 or 5 years since computer science has been in the curriculum. And I'm going to sort of come back to that coding and question a little bit, because I had a really interesting revelation this summer. My son is a coder and he's just about to go into his third year at university. And due to COVID, 2 of his uni friends couldn't return to their home. So they've been staying with me at the summer. Both women, both computer scientists, but neither of them from the UK. And what they told me is that in India, it's really promoted, like software engineering, coding, big data, AI, cybersecurity. These are seen as aspirational careers for women, and they're talking about it at a really early age. And I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, massive, huge, yeah.
Promoted. Sort of come back to that point of, would you like to see your niece, your daughter, your sister in your workplace? How are you going to encourage them? How do you, did you have a bring your daughter to work day this year, Mark?
No, I didn't. Actually, she has been in my office, to be fair, trying to be working. But no, absolutely. It's interesting, Cathi, because I'm going to, I'm almost going to put myself out in the shop window here to be shot down, because I would have been one of those guys that I thought when the Women's Festival started a couple of years ago, whenever it was, I'd have been one of the guys, and hate to say it, I'd have been like, why is this happening? Why is this festival even happening? Why are they having an award ceremony for women? And I just couldn't understand it, why they were doing it. And I'd hear about some of the awards, etc. And it's only through education, by speaking to the women, someone's actually saying, actually, more and more jobs are going to go into tech, and would you want your daughter? You said it today. Would you want my daughter to go and work in an environment where there wouldn't be equal opportunities, or there would be discrimination? I think no, I wouldn't. But I didn't put the connection between Cathi Lowe, salesperson of the year for women in tech. I'm thinking, what does that mean? Or innovation and product a year, etc. I didn't correlate that to actually the education to actually get women in technology. I know that sounds crazy, but I think a lot of men are thinking that. I think a lot of men in our industry are thinking the awards, it's just an excuse to have a jolly and a night out and an award ceremony, which obviously now I know it's not. So how can we educate, not just, obviously I have been educated by speaking to people like yourself, but how can we actually get that message out to sort of saying to men, they've got responsibility as well. It's not just women in technology promoting women. It's not about that.
And this just makes good business sense, right? We've got what's the women overall in the workforce? Something like
51%. 51%, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And IT is 16-17%.
Yeah. 15.9, something like that. Terrible.
So why would the industry want to be overlooking so much talent? How are we going to be successful if we're not attracting women and men into the workplace? And I saw you publish some results last year when you did a channel survey, something like 35% more likely to be successful with a diverse and balanced workforce, right?
Yeah.
You remember that survey, don't you, Mark?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah. Probably Callum did that.
Both parents are working. The technology industry really needs to take advantage of the full workforce out there. And I have no doubt, if I look at tech data, which actually has a very balanced workforce, we're nearer 40 than that 15%. And the collaboration of different experiences and backgrounds from the global workforce really enables us to be successful as one of the world's largest technology distributors. And, this is not about just tech data, right? This is well researched by you, by other companies, that diversity in the workplace is important. But for competitive reasons, we just wouldn't want to overlook that great opportunity. Why would we be at 16-17% when our opportunity should be 15%, 50%?
Yeah. Women who are returning to work or have started a family, Cathi, there is this perception, and I want to see if you think about it. There is this perception that if you take a career break to have a family, that you've almost got to start at the bottom and rebuild your career. Why do you think that is? There is a perception out there. I think there's a lot of women thinking, oh, if I have children, I've got to go rebuild my career, and I've got to go in at the bottom again, etc., etc. Why do you think that is?
I think there is a perception, and it could be a reality. And this is one for women to own, really. I was really inspired to see at the Women in Tech Festival, Jodie Carroll, our HR director, she sort of really fully addressed this and talked about how women can own this period in their career and pitch it as a benefit to employees. Really influence how that break in employment is portrayed. I had a quote, actually, I'm going to read. It says, as for being at home with the kids, that develops communication, resilience, problem solving, and time management skills like no job I ever had.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's for us to be really positive about the things that we can take away from these career breaks. Also, I think keeping up to date, like doing online courses, doing reading, download Channel Chat on Spotify.
Yeah.
but doing these things to improve and display confidence in return to work. So I think it's a perception. I think it's something that could be a challenge for confidence. But they're some of the things that the Women's Festival and the Women in Tech, these, really help support women think about these and how to manage them.
No, absolutely. I'd be interested to hear your perception of the industry before you joined, or what made you go into the industry.
It was a really different place, right? I joined the industry, I was going to say more than 30 years ago. It's actually closer to 40, right? So right at the beginning of technology. And I had two choices, either to do a retail management track at Marks and Spencer's, or this kind of weird and wonderful company that made a machine to manufacture 200 different software formats. It was a really small company. And at that time, I just wanted to learn and earn. But what it gave me was, like, it was a small company. It grew really fast in the 80s. And I worked in, this talks a bit to your earlier point, I worked in sales, marketing, I did administration, I worked in finance. So it really helped me in terms of being more rounded around the business. And then I specialized. I was doing field sales for, high-end networking equipment, face-to-face. But that entry level, it was the company that appealed to me much more than the technology.
I think I know the answer to this, Cathi, anyway, but I'm going to ask it. Do you think there is enough being done to help women get into the tech industry? And if not, and I don't think there is, my personal opinion, but I want your opinion. If not, what would you recommend we start doing to really drive this message home and start moving this dial?
Each and every one of us has to make a difference.
Yeah.
The industry is not going to sprinkle magic dust and it's suddenly going to happen. It's up to you, it's up to me to think about, what can we do? How can we amplify on social? Is there a Women in Tech or Advancing Tech Talent and Diversity group that I can join? Will I go to my local school? Will I put my female role models forward in those recruitment days? We talked about job descriptions, review your job descriptions, your social presence. There's actually a lot of small things that everybody can do to make a difference.
Yeah, do you know what? It's interesting. If every channel firm, listens to the channel chat or whatever, but if every channel firm actually addressed that, looking at them as a shop window and thinking, have I got a diverse and inclusive workspace? If I was a female, would I look at that company and think, oh, it's a nice place to work for if my daughter or my cousin or my family member come and join? And like you said, the last one, obviously, look at the job spec, almost sharing around with your daughters and your friends, would this appeal to you? Because I think even if we did those three little things, every channel firm did that, that would make a massive difference. So that would be interesting to see if we get that message out there. But my last question for you, Cathi, what advice would you give to a female who's looking to get into the sector that maybe is doing something else?
For any role, right, I would say, what really motivates you? Be brutally honest, right? Because it changes throughout time. And is there enough of that in your core role to make you happy? So I would say, look at the company, look at the culture, look at what drives you in terms of making those changes. And if you're motivated by pace, innovation, change, challenge, diversity, the technology industry offers all of those things. But it's not just about technology. We've talked about this. If you want to be a great marketeer, or if you want to work in a fast-moving organization around accounts administration, moving to the cloud, there's so many opportunities. It's a massive part of our workforce. And technology is all of our futures, right? Yeah. We've just been through this enormous financial challenge in terms of the pandemic. And I've seen, your posts and context, and, the market's holding up fairly well, Mark. And it's an industry for the future, and it's a really great place to build your future, is what I would say to somebody thinking about going into the IT industry.
Cathi, you've been a brilliant guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.